Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. Across from me is Troy Brittingham.
The fifth and sixth of us.
I'm Jeff Ackerman. That's D. How you doing, buddy?
D, I'm back.
He is back this week. Chris is out this week. We played a little musical
Have
co-hosts.
we seen them in the same place at the same time?
Yes. We've had all four of us on many podcasts.
Curious.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so this is going to be a mix episode of Last of Us 5 and 6 because we took a week off because I had some personal stuff going on and couldn't do a podcast. And that's the extent of it. Anyway, theme song time. TB&J! I know you were asking, Troy. I did get a cream for it, so it should stop being green. TB&J!
Is it still going to go back to normal color, or...?
They said it'll stop being green.
Okay.
It could be pink. It could be purple.
I don't think that those are better.
Well, I guess we'll find out in about 3.5 weeks when the cream tube runs out.
The cream tube.
Yep.
I mean, I guess that's what it is.
Last of Us 5. All right, we conclude our adventures in Kansas City with the brothers Henry and Sam. Quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Troy, how we feeling?
Thumbs up.
D, how we feeling?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Jeff, how we feeling? It's a thumbs up. Thank you, sir. All right, guys, this episode has so much deviation from the games, but I don't care anymore. Like, I think it's a weird dichotomy, or dichotomy might be the wrong word. If only there was somebody with an English degree to help me out. But there is a delicate balance between being true to source material and kind of zhuzhing it up and elaborating on certain things and playing them up for the sake of a television show. The best example is currently in Last of Us. It's very weak on the presence of zombies because they don't really... Like, the zombies are in the game heavily because that's your gameplay. You're constantly fighting zombies, clearing them out of places, getting from A to B. And the interactions with people and the cutscenes that happen are kind of more minor. But in the show, it's the inverse. And the cutscenes and the interactions are the big thing because that's, what makes a TV show more compelling. And the zombies take much more of a back seat because, you don't need that in a TV show. You
Yep,
can just
and still no zombies in 5, unfortunately.
Well, actually, we get our bloater in 5. How'd you guys feel about the bloater, D?
Love me some bloating.
Dude.
No, I liked that whole sequence. I mean, this was a... I mean, if we're going with 5 first. Did we give thumbs up on the... We just did 5, right?
Just 5 so far. We'll do 5 completely, and then we'll go to 6.
Okay. So, yeah, 5 was good. I mean, this is a slower episode, I feel like, in the beginning, and as they kind of get to know each other. But that beginning is... Well, you wanted me to ask the bloater. The bloater was cool. That whole sequence is awesome. Are we starting at the end?
I mean, that's just like the big thing, because that's where all the action happens. But then, like, there's all the world building and storytelling that happens throughout the episode, where they're traveling in the tunnels and become a team.
I just liked... Yeah, I mean, they this is the episode, I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, where they really jump into kind of their relationship.
Yes.
Like, they're because how long is this after? Like, because we're at the end of episode 2, right? And then episode 3 is the flashback, right? But I guess they walk a little bit to there.
Yeah,
right?
it's they get a truck, and that's pretty much the extent of that.
They get a
like,
truck.
there's other stuff, but
then they arrive at this place in the next one, and they haven't spent a ton of time together. Like, it's this episode where they're starting to a little bit, like, but they're still a little bit at.
So it's difficult to say exactly, because in the game,
because 5 is where. Now because 5 they open with dude with the gun on him, right? Like,
right. They open with Henry with the gun on Joel, or not Henry. Sam's got the gun on Joel.
And this is one of my favorite sequences because where she's like, Joel, like, chill, like, tell her it's cool, and he's like, everything is fine.
Yeah,
like, you can't
do it. Why'd you say it like that, man?
You can't turn off badass mode.
You can't turn.
And she's like, I'm sorry, he's just an asshole. He literally always talks like that.
Everything is great.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
Just Peachy reaching for the gun.
Everything's just peachy. Like, stop it. Yeah, and they do that later.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, he's just like, easy. cool as a cucumber. Like,
I don't want to kill you right now. Why would you say that?
I would never go for my gun.
Yeah,
You're holding the gun right now.
Like she's like, dude.
Yeah.
it was really good. That was my favorite. That was one of my favorite sequences, and she is doing a good job of making her likable. This character,
Ellie?
That Ellie, who is, guys, it's just you forget how easy it is to make these characters just horrid.
Oh, no.
Horrible.
We've watched enough terrible
So-
television and movies on this podcast to know that you can make characters bad real easy.
Well, yeah, but like the sort of like what would you call her? The kind of like not annoying little kid, but like the sort of like sassy little kid is like one of the easiest, especially with child actors, one of the easiest things to make like unbearable.
Oh, absolutely. You just give a human being with an annoying voice some snotty lines, and suddenly they're everyone's most hated character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard at all to make everybody hate them. But Bella Ramsey, like, I can't sing her praises high enough. Like, she does a really fucking good job portraying Ellie on the big screen. It's fucking amazing.
So they get into this thing. I mean, the whole. I really do love the whole. The build-up is a little like weird. This whole episode, the storyline with the woman who's in charge of the
Kathleen.
rebel group,
Mm-hmm.
and this is middling and it's kind of rushed. I think they did a perfectly good job. The one scene does a lot of heavy lifting. It's very expositional of like her explaining kind of how she got power.
Yeah.
And
Well, we were saying last time
She's a
that-
Nepo baby. Her brother was the leader. He died, and suddenly she's the de facto leader.
That is true.
That's not how a democratic society should work.
And it's very clear we're like in medias res to this whole thing, and it's like she's
I was
clearly
kidding,
like,
for the record.
suicidal. Like
Yeah.
she was clearly like not suicidal, but like had no interest. This is clearly just the only reason she's in charge is because of this, and I feel like this is a weird way to introduce it because it almost feels like a retcon when I watch it, and it almost feels like, oh, she's supposed to be this badass leader. But I get that's not the story they're telling. But it almost feels like, yeah, she clearly shouldn't be in charge. You meet this woman and you're like, this lady's a mess. She can't and then you realize, oh, well, the other guy did it, and it's like, this is probably the weakest part of the story. This was a tilted episode where it's like it had some of the weakest stuff in the series so far, and then the end is great and really saves it. And the beginning was really cool. I really liked the opening and a lot of that stuff.
I think it's important to remember as well with Kathleen. They say that she's only been in power and they only took over from Fedra 10 days ago.
No, I know. No, I get what they are doing.
Yeah.
It's just that story to tell like isn't really fun, and I don't want to say that it has to be fun, and like like I get that it's telling like the story from a different angle and kind of it's just not playing with my expectations in any way that's good. Like it's like, okay, so she, usually in this scenario the person is a capable, like a dangerous leader, like a Negan type or something like this, and it's like that's not what this is. And then it feels like, well, we got all these army paramilitary guys and they're taking like orders from a Karen.
Yeah.
Like-
she looks like a Karen.
Like I'm like, I don't like I've never seen like a post-apocalyptic Karen, and that's kind of what this was. So whatever, I didn't care for that part of it. But then
She is also
she literally monologues as like there's a big outbreak at the end, and she's like monologuing. Like that was stupid. Like as much as those guys, and they were all apparently like Cirque du Soleil gymnast people, like coming out of the ground.
They were specially trained for this. They went through a boot camp of sorts.
So
they were saying.
awesome. And then followed by the bloater, who is also awesome.
the little girl in the car is
The bloater
crazy.
coming up and
Yeah.
taking the head soldier with the beard.
That's
and
from
just
the game, isn't
ripping his head off.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I think that's a scene. I think that's a animation you can get if you get killed in the game.
Yeah, he just
I haven't.
fucking rips the head clean off. I was like, holy shit. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was good. No, that whole sequence is really fun. I mean, it kind of ends all shaky with like her monologuing, and I'm just like, wow, like you make this character look just so ridiculous, like absurdly. It just felt off to me, and it's like there was a set piece that was great. There were some character moments with Joel and Ellie that were great. There was a bad storyline in the middle with some weird moments, and then it's like always like this outbreak looks horrendous, and they're just like, but they're fine because why do they get away? Because they're the main characters. Oh, okay. Like
yeah, that was
like okay. And then they move away from the traditional happy ending here and have a really quick, really nice moment with the two kids, and I really liked that. And they said that they changed this from the cutscenes because he wasn't deaf, and I think it really is that element of it actually really makes it like better.
Yes.
So the scene, it makes it really work.
Absolutely it does. Oh my God, Sam is way better as a deaf character.
Yeah.
All of it is just so much better this time around between Henry and Sam.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely incredible. But yeah, that does kind of unfold similar in the games where Henry gets bit and Sam has to put him down, and then Sam takes his own life, and it's just
and that sequence is just heartbreaking, and like
I reacted so harshly. My dog came over to check if I was okay.
Yeah.
Did you know this happens? Or
I did not. This is one of the things I didn't know about the game.
I knew it was coming, which it fucking sucks knowing certain character deaths are coming when you're watching the show, because it's just like, fuck, I'm just going to be sad because you're fleshing this person out, and I know they're about to eat it in, like, I don't know, an hour? It just sucks, man.
I was like, she's like, my blood is magic or whatever, but medicine.
My blood is medicine, yeah.
And I'm like, for like a split second, I was like, oh, that's a fuck. Oh, I was like, no, she's just dumb. Like,
well, yeah, she's 14.
And I'm like,
this
oh,
works.
right, she was raised in a post-apocalyptic like school, like public school.
Yeah, she
like,
was.
It's not...
She was raised saying like you have a cure, but also she's also 14. She doesn't know how the cure works.
Yeah. So okay. So I have to. I feel like I have to revise my entire. So less sold on my idea
of her being like the enemy queen.
Yeah.
Okay.
More sold on just a false hope idea, like they get to
the Fireflies and they're like,
station,
sorry,
just
can't
like,
do it.
Or they're just like, whatever they think a scientist is that can take your thing. They're just like, we're not going to be able to do that.
What did you used to do before the world fell? I was an Elvis impersonator. Right. Now I'm a neurosurgeon.
Right. It's like something like that, like where it's just like this absurd hope.
Yeah.
Or I was thinking that like literally you do get one of them dead, because like those are the only things I can think of that like. Because I feel like there's some kind of Red Wedding-esque element to this that people are like
a mass extinction event.
Yeah, no, like no, that's the premise.
Well, no. Yes, that is the premise.
Well,
exactly.
Something equivalent to the opening,
and then a second zombie apocalypse.
Plants.
What? And then you get Plants versus Zombies.
I get it.
The spin-off series. You guys.
If it was that.
They should rename this Plants plus Zombies.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Oh,
wow.
shit.
Team up.
We did it. So
we did it, you guys.
I wonder. When was Plants vs. Zombie made?
Plants vs. Zombies.
That's older than Last of Us, isn't it?
Yeah, that was like a mobile game on my original iPod
Some
Touch.
guy was playing that and he was like, plants, not plants, not plants. Not
Hold the phone.
I was like, I'm gonna make a plant zombie.
Neil Druckmann, you've done it again.
Okay. So. Yeah, I feel like the only ways that they could do this is that. So I feel like there's like some kind of ending because of the death of the daughter in the first episode. I feel like that's the kind of vibe that they said. They kind of like, oh, we can get you with some things like we can subvert your expectation kind of thing.
You think there's gonna be like a big killing of some sort coming,
or just a something that shifts your. It's called a which way with it's called a which way is up storyline. So instead of kind of this being the hero's journey, that it's kind of set up to be, it's set up that way and then subverts it to have it's referred to as a which way is up. It'll turn the story somehow. So the basic premise of these two so the premise, right, establishes kind of your expectation for the journey. They can take that they read and fail at the end, right? At the moment of truth, they can either pass or fail, right? That's the storyline. We just need to know how they get there, right? They get there, and then we find out what happens.
Right.
Subverting that expectation would get you halfway there, and then fuck. That's that whole like if Joel dies right now,
Yeah.
right, which is like the end of this episode. Joel
The end of episode
is
6
is right. End of this next episode. They are dead. So it's like that would be like okay, what happens? Does she find a new protector? Maybe, right? Or does she
come out on her own?
Does it change the like what happens, right? And that would be like a totally if Joel died and she met up with 2 other kids like her age and they became like
the boxcar children.
A boxcar children, like the Yancey Street Gang.
There's a timely reference.
the Yancey Street Gang.
Yeah.
And they fight Ben Grimm. Excelsior. All right, I got it, guys.
That is what happens in the game. It's actually amazing that you were able to pull that off.
Holy shit.
Stan Lee comes down.
Oh, man. Obviously, having played.
And the zombies will be made of Jack Kirby's.
Oh, my gosh.
Excelsior.
Excelsior, true believers. But obviously,
heard it here first.
Obviously, knowing the events of Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, I cannot comment on Dee's theories, but I will say I do love that you are not afraid to unabashedly just like throw all of your money behind a certain horse and just be like, yup, this is awesome, this is what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there has to be some other thing because
they were zombies the whole time.
Just if they get to the Fireflies, or that even makes it more obvious. Like it's not even good if they make it to the CDC. It's just like
that's exactly what I was
going to
say. Like I feel like all TV shows these days that are similar to Last of Us, it becomes no longer good guys, bad guys. Everybody is shades of gray, and everything is like, well, they're heading to this goal. Oh no, things got fucked up in the 11th hour. It's like that's kind of what I've grown to expect now from dramas.
But it's also. This show is The Last of Us, right? So
yeah.
It doesn't not make sense to think that like this is a show about the last of humans and we're gonna lose. So that means them losing this situation. But I don't know if that's the case. Obviously,
I mean, even if they take a vaccine, it could still be The Last of Us because I mean. Who's going to
Because a bunch of people go, I don't want to take that vaccine. I don't know.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. There's going to be a lot of anti-vaxxers.
Season 2 is just going to be anti-vaxxers.
Oh my!
You get Marjorie Taylor Greene to guest star.
Yeah, I don't know. Does this thing really work?
I'll take my chances. Thanks. I heard.
How much testing has this gone through? There's like 9 humans.
I'm gonna wait until I see some peer-reviewed evidence. Thanks.
But do we know the long-term effects?
Yeah, I had a cousin whose friend said his balls got swollen.
I'm just gonna keep wearing my mask. Okay.
You haven't been wearing your mask for 3 months, Jessica.
I put it on now. That's mesh.
See-through mesh.
Oh God.
Very wide holes in that mesh. Basically lacy mesh.
All right, so episode 5 concludes with the horrible deaths of Henry and Sam, and they wrap things up in Kansas City as they head closer to Wyoming. Troy, did you have a final comment about episode 5?
One thing that we did gloss over is I do also really like the sniper in the watchtower kind of scene.
Oh, that super old man.
Mm-hmm. And he's just like, don't do it.
Please don't. And then fucking, of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, God damn it, you had just.
I also appreciate that they like established a character with bad aim and like proved to you he had bad aim and then used that instead of it just being like a stormtrooper situation. Like they did a good job of me being like, yeah, I can believe that this guy like sucks at hitting him.
They've been doing a pretty decent job at having realistic guns and like gun effects. Like Joel being partly deaf on his right side just from the guns going off on his right side.
Yeah, no one has infinite ammo. I don't feel like he should have gotten shot that many times that he shouldn't have. That he didn't.
Yeah. Like, everything seems pretty in line with reality. Granted, it still does take liberties because, of course, it does. It's a drama TV show.
Yeah,
But
so
it's
fungus zombies aren't real.
it's a lot more accurate than some other things I've seen.
No, they had that opening talk show. It's totally real.
That's fair, I guess. I'm sorry. I doubted you.
Yeah. It does remind me, though, of the
But
pilot.
global warming.
It reminds me of the
real.
pilot of Walking Dead when Rick shoots the zombie inside the tank and his ears are ringing. And I'm like, wow, that's realistic. That's pretty cool. I wonder if this show's going to keep that up. And no, it does
Never.
not.
And it
Never.
did, and
No,
everybody was
Ever
happy.
Again.
Never again does that
That's the
shit happen.
only time a gunshot ever mattered again.
Yep. The pilot episode of Walking Dead is some of the best TV ever. Just stop watching after the pilot.
Oh, real Lovecraft Country situation.
It's a real one-off.
No, you could watch the
The first season, the first 6 episodes, season 1.
Lovecraft
is good.
Country has
It is. Oof,
no fans. So.
my gosh.
Jeez Louise. So that wraps up episode 5, and then we are on our way to
I
Wyoming.
I think even with the flaws that we were talking about, I think 5 might be my second favorite behind 3.
5 is certainly very, very good. And I was talking with a buddy of mine at work about it, and he was like, is there a whole point of this show to introduce side characters, make me love them, and then kill them? Because it fucking sucks, man.
I didn't
And
play
I
the
was like,
games,
yo,
and I know people weren't gonna make it, and I'm still like, fuck, you did it. Why did?
We can't keep letting him do this!
I keep seeing people, and I'm like, I'm not gonna care about you. Fuck.
Yeah, it's fucking bizarre. But to address a concern of Chris's from the last episode, Chris was concerned about the pacing of the show, and I want to just address that real quick.
No.
So,
Didn't you spoil it for me?
no, just the pacing.
Fine.
So in the game, because you
I
actually
thought this was your explanation that like the pacing is what ruined the show.
no.
Okay.
So in the game, you're spending all of your time with Joel and Ellie, and you are going from A to B to C to D. But in the show, it's very much Joel and Ellie going from A to C, and then C to F kind of thing. And they're kind of yada-yadaing over a lot of like travel time. Like they went from outskirts of Boston to Kansas City in an episode.
Sure.
And that's a lot of time. It takes a long fucking time to drive from Boston to Kansas City, especially when Joel says that they have to keep stopping.
There wasn't
every
any
hour.
traffic.
Did he say there was 5 days? Is that what he said?
On
On a slow-moving horse?
Yeah,
That was at
from
the end of
Wyoming to
this.
Colorado. Yeah.
No, it was 3 months, right?
Uh,
They said it was 3 months later. Like after the initial.
Yeah, after they lose the car.
After they lose. What?
after they leave Bill and
Leave-
Frank's
yeah.
to Kansas City, 3
Then-
months.
There's in this episode 6, 3 months past at the very beginning
between
of the episode.
5 and 6.
Oh, yes.
It's not between 5 and 6. They start at the very beginning, at the end of 5. They literally re-show you the
Yes.
suicide, and then
they start walking towards Wyoming.
and then it's 3 months later.
Yep.
So that's what I'm talking about. Is that what we're talking
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. They're kind of glossing over a lot of travel time where not a lot happens.
about? Yeah.
And Chris was concerned because that's where a lot of the real character building and bonding happens between these two characters.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets highlighted a little bit when Ellie was watching over Joel's sleep, and she's like, I watched my 6,
Yeah.
I looked for the high ground, I checked my gun, I looked for tracks, just like you taught me. And it's like, well, we never saw that happen.
I
But
think
it did happen.
I think he's. I get that there's a comparison to the game that I'm not seeing, but I'm just saying that watching the show only, I get the pacing's fine. Like
I
as
agree
far
with
as
you.
their relationship is going, like I'm not waiting for them to do certain things. I'm just taking it for what it is. Like, how does he feel better? They tell me 3 months have passed. They've been traveling for 3 fucking months. Like, I've seen how he's already let his guard. He lets his guard down as soon as she does the pun book, and that's 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
At this point, so I'm like,
I'm on your side. I was just
like,
addressing
I'm
it
like,
for Chris.
I don't know. We're in episode 4, and he's not fully there yet, but like his guard's down. And this episode, I think, does. We don't see their. We've seen enough of their banter and their shit. What we really needed was to see the interior of Joel and what's going on there, because Ellie's more or less mostly on the surface, right? Like she tells you what she feels, even if she doesn't understand what she's feeling.
Yes.
So granted, you don't know what's really going on, but you know what she's telling you. With Joel, who also doesn't have the best vocabulary or explanation, is not able to understand that he's having panic attacks, for instance. isn't able to kind of understand his psychology.
He's just a contractor, man.
And he's just the contractor.
And everybody loves contractors.
Everybody loves contractors.
That was good. I like that. Everybody loves.
Why is that a WWE character or an AEW character? Like the contractor,
No.
and the guy shows up in like overalls and he beats people with a breakable 2x4.
It could be you.
He beats people with exorbitant prices.
I can install those windows for half the price.
And then double it.
Ah!
Triple it. Closing costs.
Wasn't there an accountant at some point?
I'm sure.
Ben
And he had like
Affleck?
a briefcase. Oh fuck! What was his name?
No, they all have briefcases. There's money in the bank things.
Well, yes, but there was an accountant.
So not Ben
No,
Affleck.
let's just not.
I'm sorry. This isn't the wrestling podcast. I should get into
Orange
wrestling.
Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy.
No, you derailed it.
I did derail it. I'm sorry, but
Your own
pacing.
podcast.
Chris was concerned about pacing
Pacing,
because
yeah.
they're glossing
Or
over.
pacing.
They're glossing over a lot of time between places, and I don't think it matters a whole lot. I think it's fine if you just go
this
from
scene
A to B
between
to C.
he and his brother is really well done. I mean, he talks
Yes!
about like he's like, oh, I'm failing in my sleep. You know, like that's like it's just he's never dealt with the absolute trauma of losing his daughter, and like it's there's a lot of fun stuff in here that like you know that like these guys are great, by the way, these contractor brothers that you know, like what's the whole premise of him, Joel, going there is to save him,
Save his
and
brother.
he's like
Mhm.
in this great setup.
They have power,
He's
they
moved
have
on. He's kind of
animals.
living his life, doing this thing, and meanwhile, Joel is kind of stuck and never really quite dealt with it. Now, the whole communism thing was hilarious too. Oh, he's like, what, like communism? He's like, no, it ain't like that. And he's like, yeah, we're communists. This is a commune. And he's like, oh shit, like it felt to me like it was just dawning on him.
I've let my country down.
He's like, yeah, and it's just another, you know, the show has a liberal underbelly, and you know, definitely paints it on its sleeve very pretty well. So yeah, I mean, like it's a neat funny thing because this is the one place that's working. Also, like, you know, you saw these like neat contrasts between like the dog is how they check for the virus, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's okay with Ellie, while Fedra uses technology, and it'll read her as infected, and just
Yeah.
So like you know, nature knew what was right, and that all that stuff is kind of really well painted on the page, and you have you have constantly that is at play, and you have the rugged individualism versus so you have the rugged individualist who hates the fascist dictatorship, right? Then you also have the communist idealists who also hate the dictatorship. Now, I think this next episode we're also supposed to see a little bit of where Ellie came from, so that's cool.
Yeah, they're gonna spoilers for the end, have Joel maybe die, and then they're gonna do a whole flashback episode and then get back to it a whole episode after that.
And that's fine. This we have 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
So like we're right.
That wasn't
this
a
is great.
complaint.
It's that what we just saw. And by the way, episodes 4, 5, and 6 is the second act. It is the hardest fucking act in the thing. It's you get to end of episode 3, fucking chef's kiss masterpiece. 4, 5, and 6 did absolutely their jobs. I feel like at this stage, and they even though it really does kind of feel like there's not a lot of zombies in this show. I think they have the exact perfect right amount of zombies
I
in this
agree.
show. If they had thrown another goddamn zombie in this episode just to show me a fucking zombie still existing, I'd have been pissed because I'm just like, I don't need it. You don't need to do it. I know they're out there. I get it. You can remind me of one day weird, fine. But like, yeah, I didn't want that. This was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. The second act is always so hard to do, and it's so hard to pull off brilliantly, and I feel like The Last of Us has done it so fucking well. It's up there with like fucking Empire for being like such a great second act. to set up a third act to just really deliver it and bring you home.
I like to get the I mean, like it's a they do the classic thing in this episode that you're supposed to do, which is you kind of we're in these 3 episodes, right? They in 4 they kind of they go through some bad times, right? 4 and 5 are really bad, right? They have all this shit bad happen. In episode 6, they meet a refuge, right? They get refuge, a chance to forget their mission and just stay. The opportunity to give up or not. Also, it doesn't make sense to me. I know Joel doesn't trust people, but this is stupid. I know it's the premise at this stage, but like, guys, the thing to do right now is like I understand trying to get out of Fedra was a different story, but you get a posse together and you get a fucking army around the girl and go. Like, this is for the better. Like, you can't, you don't play this close to the vest and be like, well, also, humanity all put in one. That is just the worst decision.
Well, I can kind of see it from his perspective because you have to say that she's immune, and it's like, well, how do you know? And it's, well, because she got bit. And it feels like
the whole premise is based on telling someone she is immune. Can you make something out of her? Right? That's the entire premise.
Yeah.
To say, wait, I'm going to keep it a secret until a secret moment. Like, it's dumb. Like, it's I get you're not supposed to trust people. But it's not. That only made sense when it's Fedra and they're like, they'll kill on sight or they'll do where they're not going to ask those questions. Like, this is different. They clearly have taken you in. That's only an issue if you're reading as infected. She's not. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, they can easily tell that this is a thing. Like, it's fucking insane. Anyway, point being,
people might be a little testy and trigger happy when it comes to infected. It's been around for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but and I'm sure they'll play that out a little bit more, probably. I assume, but like the fact that we haven't seen it, I mean, I didn't want to see them run out of that town or something like that, so that wouldn't be fun. But at the same time, it's a little weird to just let them out with like, not even his brother comes with them. Like, nobody.
Well, his brother's about to be a dad.
I know they put up a little, but I'd be like, even then, I'd be like, you still sent out a posse with people like. No way you don't have like this lady's on the up and up. Like, it's anyway, it is what it is. There's no way if you're Joel and as scared as he is that this is the right decision that you would make there. Either way. So and he told his brother, so now, does he not know how wives work? Like, like you told her too. So this episode, and it gets us to the end of the second act. He's now died. So we get a flashback episode. Then we'll pick up next episode in 8 with the dealing with how Joel survives, and then we'll get to this big finale. And that's your third act.
Will it be a finale?
Who knows? According to D, it's going to be a fucking red wedding. But yeah,
that can be a finale.
The next episode preview was the DLC that came out for Last of Us Part 1 with a flashback of Ellie's childhood with her friend Riley and them exploring that big mall.
Yeah, how do they handle that in the game? Do they show you a flashback?
No, so in the game it's a DLC.
What does that mean?
So that means downloadable content. So it's a separate piece of the game you buy separately and you play separately. So, like, when you load up the main menu of Last of Us...
How's Joel there?
He's not.
I
feel like you're deliberately being ignorant. No, but...
how does the game...
So, the way video games work, old man...
You put the disc in the...
Where do I put my quarter?
Well, you need a lot more than a quarter these days. You
50 cents?
You have the game... And then it's not uncommon.
Rip off.
It's
a whole dollar.
It's not uncommon for game developers to release additional content after the game comes out to keep you coming, get you in for
Some
another
would say
hit.
very common.
I like when I'm common.
It's not very common for games like The Last of Us.
Sure.
It's very common for multiplayer games.
Yes.
But that's different. But yeah, so it was a little like side story that they wrote and they released, and they were like, "Hey, pick this up for like $15."
Yeah, this is why they're closing arcades all over the place.
That's not why. That's not why. But
Could you imagine seeing somebody play The Last of Us in an arcade? Just like a 4K, like
Yeah, and they get to the
storyline with cutscenes.
Yeah, and they're just like openly weeping, sitting there at a table.
And they're like, "So do you want to go on Mortal Kombat?
Do you want another drink, sir?
Do you want to try Donkey Kong? Or what are we doing?"
Give me my quarters, man.
Funny you mention that. Video games actually just went up in price for the first time in like 15, 20 years. It's not a joke.
Up it.
Yep. The video games brand new out the box used to be $60. Now they're $70. They have not raised the price of video games since like 2006.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, especially considering the quality of games has only skyrocketed, and
That's true.
they've become bigger budget productions since then.
You pay for a service now, though.
Yeah.
On top of that, so
You don't have to.
let me rephrase. They make a lot of money off of service now that they don't.
Yes.
They didn't have to raise the price, which is good enough.
I mean, I also want developers to get paid living wages and not have to be not be forced to work 90-hour weeks.
No, I agree. It's the same thing with comic books. All artists get fucked. Comic books, is some of the worst because the worst thing about comic books is like every fucking thing that is in these Marvel movies that make billions of fucking dollars is like some like 2-bit like hack. Like, yeah, I made a great story for Marvel, and now it's like the leading focus of their Phase 7.
I think what you mean to say was the Russo brothers made that story.
Oh, right. They made all those things.
They didn't steal anything from anybody. Ever.
It's not stealing. It's just to say that
it's
like literally
inspiration.
they inspire these things like shot for shot remakes of panels from the like literally in
like when Homelander was masturbating with the eclipse in the background.
But now
Marv?
I have to imagine that Garth Ennis, owner of has some ownership rights to The Boys, as that's a different press.
Yes,
but for Marvel and DC and all these guys that do that,
it's a very different animal.
Some guy in middle America is sitting there like, look, kids, that's the thing I drew. Now Ant-Man's doing that thing.
Yeah, and they're like, cool, are you like a millionaire? Like, no, I have a lot of deadlines right now. We have to talk, Billy.
We're going to have to move again.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
You're not going to see Daddy for, like, that's the situation.
This just got real depressing.
Yeah, well, it is The Last of Us. So, yeah, anyway, they definitely should get more content for creators. But not in this game and this show, because this has been good so far.
Yes. I believe that wraps up episode 6.
And that means?
That means this is the end of the second part of the show. Mm-hmm. We need to give it a letter grade. All right, gentlemen. So we gave part 1 of The Last of Us. We gave that, I think all around A+,
We were
right?
pretty unanimously A+ on it.
That was like some pretty fucking stellar television.
Yeah, stellar television.
It also ended on 3, though, which is like the greatest
stellar
episode
vision.
ever.
Yeah, so now we got 4, 5, and 6 wrapping up. What are we thinking for a letter grade? Let's start with D.
Okay.
Because I never start with D.
Yeah.
Question before we do that. Is this ranking 4, 5, and 6, or the series as a whole?
4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Yes.
Just went.
Yep, this is just ranking Act 2.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Does that change my score?
Yeah, I want to say that. Okay, 4. What happens in 4? Because
4 is the setup for Kansas City. So
what do they do?
She kills the guy, or she shoots the guy. He kills the guy.
They crash the car into the city. They're running away.
Okay.
And it ends with the pun book, and he's laughing.
Yeah, this is. That's the episode that is a B for me, and then the middle one is kind of also a B, but it has these high, but it's because of highs and lows, not because of it not having great moments and a lot of enjoyment. And then I feel like this last one is kind of like an A-. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this like a B+.
Okay. That's fair.
Just because I think that's it's good. It's good, and it really comes together in a lot of parts, but a little disjointed. But they just get through that second act, right? And I think they really there's a lot of good television in there.
Troy, how are you feeling?
I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna go A minus. I think that I like 5 a lot more than D. And this is still consistently. This is like out of all the shows that we've watched, this is one that I'm pretty consistently like, oh, new episode of Last of Us is out. I should go watch it now, like right now.
Yeah.
Where like even like The Mandalorian or like The Boys, I was like, yeah, I should get around to that. And then, but it isn't as. Like I said, 5 is probably my second favorite.
Your lizard brain wants to ugly cry again.
Yes.
Your lizard, give me that again.
Yeah,
I want it again.
Five
give
made
me the CCs.
5 made me ugly cry, and in the same
did,
way. I mean, not in the same way, but in a similar way than 3 did. So, 5 is really the one heavy lifting a lot of it for me. 6 I like a lot. 4 was a little bit more of a setup. But I think I'm doing A+ only because I like 5 a little more than D does.
Okay.
I
think I'm giving it, and I'm in the same boat as both of you. It's probably an A-, B+ somewhere in there. So I think
choose one.
Yeah, I do have to choose one. I'm gonna say A-.
Okay.
And that might just be recency bias because I did watch both the episodes last
That means
24
you're
hours.
wrong, D. That means you're wrong.
It doesn't actually.
I know.
Usually, when it comes to objective things, he's right more than the rest of us.
I'm just trying to be
not to make
antagonistic.
him any more of an asshole with a giant ego,
right,
but
right.
you know.
Yeah, spades are spades.
I think this is sitting right around an A-, 90% B+ for all of us.
The one thing I do think that the idea they're weaving really well, and this is the other thing that I think they're doing well, is like they're just weaving, like they're really good with their like thematic structure of the story. And I really like how they're weaving this idea that like it's so dangerous to love anything, to like care about anything, to like put effort in anything, because like all of it is at risk of being toppled.
Mm-hmm.
And like nothing exemplifies the confusion of that more than like when the kid in episode 5 shoots his brother, who's infected.
Yeah.
And then is just in this state of like, what the fuck, because like his entire life is just all his decisions, everything that he's done has been for that, and now in a moment it's gone, and you're like, what do I do? And then we're seeing that now in the end of episode 6.
Yeah, and he can't even look at it as like the other option was like, because now that guy's dead, and also his sister's also now dead. Like everybody's in that whole storyline is dead.
So wait, what?
Because he saved Henry is the older brother, Sam is the younger brother, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yes, Henry is the older brother, Sam is the younger brother.
Henry saves Sam and basically ends up kind of like getting Kathleen's brother killed.
Yeah,
and
so it's his whole exile, all the decisions, all the all the sacrifices he had to make, this poor decisions, the bad guy moves that he had to do, had become to do this, is all just pointless, right? It's in a moment, and you're just like, well, wait, what the fuck was all that for? And I love that, because the truth of the matter is, like, that is the existential question. It's like, what the fuck? Like, and this is what scares everybody existentially, whether they know it or not, is that, like, people think they're scared of failure. And all that stuff is like, dude, success is just scary, because it's like, you're just like, fuck, well, I did it. Fuck. It's like, yeah, when they tell you the journey is is its own reward or something, like it's not wrong. Like you building things just means you'll lose them. Like and it's like one of the things that people will say all the time, and it's what the episode 3 made us all cry hard about. Is that you're not vulnerable until you love something, and like it's a great thing, but it's just this vulnerability.
Yeah, it's like buying a puppy and looking at it and being like, well, in 10 years you're gonna die.
Yeah, you can't think of it that way.
Yeah,
what the
like
fuck?
yeah,
No,
you
that's
can't
what
think
it
of it
is,
as like, I'm
though.
gonna bury all my animals,
Right.
like my children. I'll bury them all. But like what I think and that's how you think about it. That probably one of the hardest things that this was like in real life, if you want to talk about a more realistic scenario than any of these life or death literally things, it's like relationships. It's like a lot of people, you get in a relationship and you're in a relationship for so long, and fizzles, it does whatever, and like you can be in the moment it was just like, wait, what the fuck? Like, no, this was everything. Like, this was my and depending on how you believe things, like you could be like, but it's my soulmate or it's my this. You could have just, and all of that just comes crashing down, and there's nothing you can do except work through it and learn to love again, and learn, like, and that's all it really is like, if you're strong enough to actually love. And that's what I think that is true. It's like you really do have to be strong enough to love. You have to be willing and knowing that you can survive, and that's hard as you're getting your limbs chopped. Like getting chopped down to a stump, can you grow back up to a tree? Like, that's fucking hard, and I think it's terrifying, and I think it breaks most people. But it's also like everything that's good. So I think they're really encapsulating all of that in this show about fucking plant zombies. Like,
and that's what you come to the TB&J podcast for, is all these existential questions about love and relationships. Isn't it great, guys?
Love your dog, love your girlfriend.
And then bury them.
And then bury them.
Preferably
Wait a minute,
not
did you
alive.
say girlfriend? I just thought you meant dog.
What is love if not zombies persevering?
It's my dog.
Anyway, so that concludes this episode of the TB&J podcast. We'll be back at you next week with some more
With
Last
heroin.
of Us. And maybe heroin.
That'll be a crazy
maybe,
episode.
if you're the DEA, no, we don't have heroin. But if you're that cool neighbor down the street with the dog, yes, we do have heroin.
Do heroin while you listen to us. Don't do that.
Heroin
Don't do that.
dog.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Join us next week for Heroin Dogs.
Heroin dogs. That's a good punk rock
Is
name.
that after Cocaine Bear?
So,
Ooh.
I was going to say,
Heroin Dogs is the sequel to Cocaine Bear.
that's fucking incredible, Troy.
It's just, wait, this is definitely a different movie. Heroin Dogs is just the fucking worst.
We've got a couple movies in the horizon we're trying to cover in recent...
Opening up your gate, letting criminals in for money.
So,
Is that
Cocaine
what they
Bear...
mean by drug mule?
Cocaine Bear, we've got Knock at the Cabin, maybe, from fucking Shamalama Ding Dong.
I'll always watch the Shyamalan movie.
Okay.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and
There's something else very big right now. I don't know what it is.
I heard it's actually pretty small. Oh, it just got big. Oh, now it's small again.
Oh, okay.
How strange.
I have Doctor Strange. Is it Doctor Strange?
Sam Raimi presents.
I've seen this movie twice now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Just
If you didn't get the reference, it's Ant-Man Quantumania.
Quantumania. Yeah,
The
it's
quantum realm that makes no sense in actual real life science.
yeah. No, so yeah, I saw this because of a date, and then followed up by a date
Who'd you take?
with my little boy.
Oh, is that what the kids call it these
The
days?
little boy.
I don't know if I would
My
say
head boy.
Oh.
it's getting
my
worse.
son. My
On
son.
that note, yes, it was your kid. We understand.
My
so
biological child.
as soon as I get my life in order, we're gonna figure out these movies and get them to you as soon as we can.
As soon as quick.
We're going to film these movies.
Yep, that's what we're gonna do.
We're going to plagiarize all of them.
If you liked us, please leave us a kind review on your favorite podcasting platform.
Please like us.
all the things and the shit. You know what to do.
Write in and we'll read your podcast.
That too.
On the air.
We'll read your podcast on the air.
Yes, that's what I said.
That
and
is what
that's-
you said.
Send in an episode of your podcast and we'll play
obviously
it
it was
instead
a
of
mistake,
our
but I'm going to stand by it because I said it. I will play your podcast on the air. Dial it in,
Give us
and
the
I
full
will.
transcript.
I will recite it word for word.
Yeah, we'll get in a transcript form. It'll be great.
TB&J podcast will not read your podcast.